Our journey begins. It is day 149, which is actually the last time that I'm going to be saying that. Likely forever, because I'm probably not going to say our journey begins again because that phase is ending. And then I'm not going to be saying day 149, I think. We're going to be moving on to a different framing. But it is just so beautiful out here this morning. I don't know if you'll be able to see the leaves and the sunrise and the crisp blue sky. It is stunning out here. So such a perfect day to end this sharing of these morning walks and whatnot, and these other sort of sharing of what I've been working on, trying to get across different points. I'm probably still going to be creating specific content for specific things, like especially the Enlightened Content Mastermind and the more of the daily vlog type stuff, obviously. But this, and when I say daily vlog, that sort of seems like that's what this is. This in my mind is just like a daily share my thoughts. So I'm probably still going to do this, but they're only going to be for my own records, because I do just love being able to capture what I was thinking at different points in my life and the beauty. I mean, look at that. I don't know if you can tell, but it is just stunning. So yeah, it's been a really good 149 days, 149 videos. I definitely learned a lot. It was definitely not easy to do it every day, although a lot of times it was just a short little like, hey, here's some thoughts. Other times I spent a couple hours preparing for the thing and then creating the thing. I learned how to share sort of the work that I was doing on my computer, and it really helped me to be accountable to myself every day, going out here or working on my computer, sharing what I was working on, trying to create a coherent story. Creating the coherent story is probably the big part, where I couldn't just be like one day make a story about or like talk about something and then the next day talk about something like completely different and then like be like, hey, yeah, like I make sense. So it's which is probably what I did anyway, but I think still I tried to make a coherent story of the one day to the next, what makes sense. So we started out, I'm probably going to do a little bit of a recap. We started out by like sort of pointing out like, this is the beginning of the journey. Like obviously it's small, obviously it's not a big deal, obviously it's just me, I'm not anyone too special or not really going to be, I'm not really expecting to like do anything too great. Like this probably isn't gonna do a whole lot, but like we're gonna get started. So that's why it was called My Journey. Our journey begins, and um, and I think it was the beginning. And wow, it is so beautiful. And you can see just on the hill over there, the sun is just now shining on the trees. I mean, look at that. That is just stunning. Wow. All the cows. Cows are wanting to be in the video this morning. Yeah, you can just see them in the background, those trees. Of course, how can I arrange this so I can look at them? Look at that. It's stunning because it's like bright colors. It's like literally just about peak colors. even over here it's pretty peak, but like that over there is just beautiful. This is a good arm workout because I got to hold my arm back here pretty far. So yeah, I guess I'm overall like pretty happy with things. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal. We had some conversations online, but it's not like it's going to change the world. I think it's difficult to say that any one little thing is going to change the world, but it's the stages, it's the steps, it's the phases. I wouldn't be able to be transitioning to this next phase without having gone through this phase that we just went through. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like the trees with the geese on the pond. It's stunning. Wow. I love being out here. So yeah, probably I'm going to be doing daily vlogs and being like, I took a beautiful morning walk and probably show like a couple seconds of it. But this is what I'm going to be doing. Going out here, taking my walk, doing my morning journal, talking to myself about this or that, voicing concerns, voicing thought processes about different aspects. I wonder if I could sit this down somewhere. I don't know. I don't think so. I started out with going over that. Then it sort of immediately transitioned to, okay, now that I got that message out there, because the initial thing that I wanted to do, I realized I sort of did after the first 10 videos. I sort of explained what I wanted to say. And then I wanted to do more epic stuff, but it was impossible to do and create a video every day. So I just started documenting what I was actually doing, which sort of was a re-inspiration to go through all the aspects of my heroes, of all the aspects of the movement and the movement coordinating mechanism and whatnot. Here, can I switch this? Do you think that would work? No. Oh, look at that. So we can sit here. I can be out of the screen and we can be watching the sunrise. Wow, look at that. You can just see the sunrise over here too. Oh man. So yeah. Let me get out my phone and we'll do a review of the 149 days. So, there are a lot. 100 is more than you think it is. So yeah, day one was the moment. The moment everything begins. The beginning moment doesn't define how special things can be. It defines the start. It doesn't define the end. Then it was all the problems in reality, which was okay, but let's just cover what are all the problems that need help. Then it was, okay, how can we actually solve those problems in reality? Then it was okay, so there's problems. How would you actually solve them? And then it's like, why solve them? What's the purpose to solve the problems in reality? Then it's how to get started. Then it's one person can make a difference. It's like, okay, well maybe these, and like maybe you're like, yeah, I would try to make the world a better place. Then it's like, well, how can one person do that? And then I went over the power of humor to help change the world, which is like pretty bland, but whatever. And then I did a video of like, honestly, what are my goals? Trying to summarize, like, okay, I made these first 6 videos. Now, like, why am I actually doing this? And I think it was a really good time to let's pan this over a little bit. Then it was our journey begins. How can one person make a change? That's when I started to document, like, how things could actually work out. And then I did, starting to explore the movement, starting to really think through that. Then we thought through the self-organizing principles of the movement, and then we continued to envision principles of the movement. And then we thought through how to coordinate the movement, and then we thought through the summary of findings for the movement in terms of what did we figure out so far. Then we set some goals for how we were going to accomplish a bunch of stuff. And then we thought of, and then it was like, okay, one of the first steps is just becoming the best version of ourselves, which basically is like, so how would you go about doing that? Because it's like basically the first step. Then I went through, I made a little video asking David Shapiro what he thought about how to know exactly what to do when you can't know anything to be for certain. And then I made a video of like the rate at which you become a better version of yourself matters. And it's like, the rate does matter a little bit. Because obviously if you're becoming a better version of yourself really quickly, and you're really compounding, then that's going to make a much bigger difference than if you're going about things much slower. Like maybe the slower way is more sustainable, so over time it's better. But that's why I feel like you need those instances of intensity and consistency. Then I made a little video about superintelligence. I can't even read this. Will it understand the meaning of life? Then I made a video analyzing what was trending on YouTube, sort of trying to figure out what's trending and why, like, and you sort of go over, you quickly realize all of the basic stuff that's trending, and it's like, sort of shows you where the overall mentality of humans are at. Then I made a video which was one specific aspect of roadmap to visionary thinking, where I talked about how I was thinking about going from the stages of novice to zenith at the quality of visionary thinking. Then I made a thing about 10 questions that could change your life, sort of 10 questions you could ask yourself. Then we made a video inspiring the movement, where I just took a walk out here in the early morning when the stars are out and thought about those things, or like how to inspire a movement. Then I started ideating the original movement constitution. I realized that we needed to ideate the movement constitution in order to, or there essentially needed to be an original constitution principle that could self-evolve from there. And then I wrote the introduction to the Constitution. We figured out how to define best in terms of best possible future. We defined how to define the best possible future. We figured out how partnered interviews could help with determining how to determine the best possible future. We determined defining a simplified way to define the best possible future. Then I did a little story about Savor, who would be a person in a developing country who would like experience the movement and what that would be like. Then I did basic principles of the movement and capturing the imagination. Then a second draft of the movement principles. Then continuing the second draft of the movement principles. And again continuing the second draft. So these are like long videos where I was just like going through defining the second draft. Then we went into capturing the imagination and falling in love with changing the world. Then we did a epic virtual reality adventure writing session where I sort of wrote like a short novella about like this like epic virtual reality adventure, which is like 3 hours and 20 minutes. And then I did principles, inspiration, and narratives of the movement, really thinking through those aspects. Envisioning the creation of a film. This is what I started getting into because I think during that session of envisioning the narratives of the movement, the next day I was like, wait, I need to create a film to make this happen. So, and then I made a video about preventing the worst from happening. And then I did developing the movement founding movie. And then I started getting into the whole movement founding movie with ideas, breakthrough movie plot idea. That was a good session where I took a walk outside and eventually settled on a really good idea. And then I did a whole mind mapping session for that breakthrough plot idea. And then did exploring possible settings for the movement. And then how to construct the 3D worlds for the movement. The need to understand human nature. Because that was when I realized that you could easily make the argument that the best possible future is impossible because we haven't reached it yet, and therefore humans are kind of incapable of reaching it because of human nature. That would sort of be the argument. But I was like, well, maybe we need to think about evolving human nature. And then I did a video on understanding human nature. Then I did a video on thoughts on free will and goal setting, and then I listed all components to include in the movement movie, and then I did more of that. I started thinking through the narratives of the movie. And then one time I thought through the possible community living situations, which would be like tent life and other things. And then I started drafting narratives for the movement regarding self-sacrifice. I started refining narratives for the movement. I did continued refinement of the narratives of the movement, continued refinement. I determined the scene for the first narrative. I did a little check-in progress on narrative creation. I outlined the first 6 narratives of the movement. Because at that point I realized, well, if narratives are how we're going to change the world, like, we need to create, or I sort of thought up 12 sort of outlining components that would need to be like short narratives. So then I outlined the first 6, and then and then I started writing narrative 1 and scene writing narrative 2. Then I did narrative 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, 8, 9 and 11, 12. So I did end up writing out all of those narratives. And then I did continuation of writing the original movement constitution. I went back to that after writing the narrative, because the narrative gave me more clarity on like, okay, like just like more about the Constitution. Here, maybe we can switch this now. All right. If you can't see the sun coming up through, that's what I was trying to get. Then we did continuation of writing the original movement Constitution. Yeah, I did a bunch of Constitution work. Then we took the break out to Canada, and I did just some check-ins, which sort of stopped the flow, basically. But it gave me a chance to sort of step back and be like, okay, what am I doing? And so I spent a couple days thinking about what am I doing. Then when I came back, I did a little restructuring, how I was going to get everything done. Then I got a little bit worried about things, and I was like, well, maybe it's partially because I was sort of questioning ambition when my goals are ultimately selfless. I was like, maybe it's better to have selfish goals so that my ambition can be a little bit higher, because then it's like I'm trying to benefit myself quite a bit versus just doing things for a self-sacrificial manner. I think now that I was mostly just a bit tired and a bit burnt out or whatever, but because I think I do have a lot of ambition, even with the self-sacrificial nature. Then I was rewriting the premise of narrative 1. I realized that the narratives could be really enhanced. The first drafts were where they were first drafts, but that's still cool. And then I was thinking through the changes in the movie. I was updating the timeline again. I did another little check-in talking about what I was working on. Then I did a whole practice narratives session, because I was still going to create like the basic movie where I was going to just do it, me talking through things with like a little bit of B-roll and like very simplistic. But I did that, and then I did a filming day, and I did a little check-in on that. And I did a little quick editing session. And at that point, I realized that it wasn't going to work. That I needed to do something different. I couldn't just create this movie that no one's going to watch, because I could spend like a month editing it, making it really nice, but then it would be pretty much useless because no one would see it, because it wouldn't be engaging. And then if anyone did see it, it would be like, okay, what is going on here? So then I did a quick editing, and then I just started thinking through random stuff. Progress check-in. I started thinking through a potential pivot point. I don't remember what pivot point that was to. But yeah, mostly just started getting into more of the thoughts and exploring different things. Staying true to yourself. So then I started getting into, the pivot point I think was getting into developing the coordination mechanism. I sort of, after that stage of realizing that I didn't really want to, or that I knew that the whole movement movie wasn't going to work, I was like, okay, well, let me start building out this was when I was building out the OCC project. I started being like, okay, I need to make something happen now, and I need to do something that's like practical, that can be done now, and whatnot. It is pretty beautiful back there. Let me switch it though, just so you can see this too. That is beautiful. So then I started thinking through that. It was about day 100, so we're only on day 100 so far. When it takes a while to just explain what you were doing, then at least it would seem that you were doing something. Because if it, yeah. So then I just started building this stuff, trying to figure out the whole blockchain technology for that specific thing I wanted to build. And then I was contemplating life choices. And then I got into like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to settle on just doing this one specific thing. I need to build out the whole coordinating mechanism. So then I started thinking through the whole coordinating mechanism, and I did a holistic breakdown of that. And then I thought through the aspect of like the predicament of being a decent person in like a interesting world. Then I got into, right after that, I got into creating the new language. I was like, okay, the new language is going to sort of be the first step of the coordinating mechanism that's going to need to happen. So then I started detailing out some of the things I was working on. I mean, I would spend the entire weekend writing out concepts for the new language and how it was going to meet all these different aspects. And then I went through all of that, so many different aspects of that. But then I was like, I'm going to pivot again. Because I realized that the new language development was going to take a long, long time. And there's different things to do at different phases. Part of being intelligent or attempting to be intelligent is realizing when to do different things. And right now, creating the new language, it probably isn't the best thing to do, like right now. It would be a little bit better to do that at the right time. So then I thought through some more aspects and I started addressing some comments that people were leaving about the new language. Meanwhile, I was doing the enlightened content, starting to like get going with that. And then I did a couple more thought videos, and then it sort of got into several thought videos. Like the last couple have just been thought videos of, okay, well, what do I think about this? What do I think about that? And just sort of wrapping up. Meanwhile, I've been working mostly on preparing for this next stage. And then I haven't uploaded them yet, but I'm going to upload the videos where I've been sort of summarizing what my thoughts are at this stage. So, yeah, as you can tell, it's a beautiful morning, and I have a great view, and you get to see the sun coming through the trees. So, I feel like the 149 days were great. I feel like we could have gone a lot farther, we could have done a lot less, we could have thought harder, we could have been more lazy about the thinking process. We could have looked less cringy, we could have looked more cringy, we could have tried to be cooler, or we could have tried to be less cool. But I think it is what it is. It's one of those things where it's okay to just be who you are at that time. And that's what I'm sort of trying to be a little bit here before we transition on to the new stage. I really don't think anyone's going to see this for a very, very long time, if ever. Just like all the other videos that I made, but those videos will be there for when we continue on. And it's not like we're going to completely lose that aspect of like, okay, what do we work on? Because I'm going to be summarizing what I worked on every day. I'm not going to be necessarily recording how I'm going about different things, because that's really not that important. Like I recorded some sessions of me figuring out how to outline the narratives of the movement. Like that's cool, but what would be better is because the end product you can share the narratives of the movement, but you don't need to really share the creation of that. And if you do want to share that, you can just share like a little summary of like, hey, today I worked on these 5 things and I thought these 5 things about that. And then of course I'll still be doing my personal journal, so I'm not going to lose any of that nuance information behind. It sort of feels a bit surreal to be standing here in this crisp fall day with the beautiful leaves around me. I'm so honored to be out here. I guess it also feels a bit surreal to be at the end of this stage. 150 days isn't really that much. It's a lot though. It's like, what, almost a third of a year? Yeah, it's a little over a third of a year where every single day I have a video to account for. Now I didn't record every single day. Sometimes I recorded for the day before that, on the day after it, but like for the most part it was every single day. And there were a lot of other things I was doing every single day. But yeah, it's really quite special to be out here, and I'm really thankful for that experience, I guess. I guess that's the way I feel. Like, I'm thankful for that experience. And it's one of those deals where when you come to the end of something, you're like, sort of bittersweet. You're like happy for it to have completed it. But then you're excited for what's to come, but you're a little bit like you're gonna miss it or something. And like maybe you're not making the right decision by moving on. I think it's pretty obvious it's the right decision to move on a bit. This sort of thing where I'm just standing and looking at the camera, that's definitely like a phase 1 thing, where you're figuring things out, you're just sort of recording it. But phase 2 is like you're really paying attention to detail. You're doing a lot more quality over quantity. And you're allowing yourself time to figure things out. So maybe we will do these like once a week or something. It's not going to be this beautiful for another year, at least here. Maybe tomorrow morning it'll be nice, but after that. But it's beautiful here all the time. Like, I think when I do my daily vlog type things, I'll probably have a little video of like my morning walk, because I do try to take a morning walk pretty much all the time, and other walks. And it can be really stunning here too when it snows. When it's just the trees are bare and whatnot, and it's just like super cold. It's not near as nice. But there's beauty in everything, and even when it's like super cold and there's nothing on the trees and whatnot, like it's still, you can still appreciate, especially if you can go out like maybe when the sky is clear and you can look at the stars. Like that's beautiful. It's usually a lot more cloudy during the winter, which can make it hard, but sometimes the moon's out and it's shining through, and yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I have anything else I want to say. I guess one of those things where I'm like, am I postponing that final moment when I push stop recording for the last time, doing this sort of thing? Is it sentimental? That's probably the right word. A bit sentimental about what I've been doing. I think this did what I wanted it to, is it helped me to get started. It didn't become all that I thought it could, but I think I just need to transition a little bit to enable it to become more so what I think it can. It smells wonderful too. Well, someday I'll look back on this and I'll be wondering, I'll probably be like, oh, if I could go back to that stage. Or maybe I'll be like, I'm so glad I got through that stage. Okay. I really appreciate anyone who's happens to be watching this, or anyone who watched all of the stuff that I did put out during those 150 days. Not a ton of people, but definitely some people saw some of the stuff for a little bit of the time. And so that's cool. And I appreciate it. And I hope we can grow together. I mean, I know I learned a lot. And anyway. How do I say goodbye? Maybe that's the part I'm thinking of. How do I say goodbye? I will still see you all, but it will look a little bit different. And it will only be going up from here. That's the other thing. It's not like I'm leaving this nice stage to go to some worse stage. I'm leaving this nice stage to go on to something even better. The next stages are going to be even better. The views are going to be even better. The whole thing is going to be much nicer. So, it's like, bye for now in this phase. I will see you in the next phase. All right. Thank you.